Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm trying to defeat Martin with every piece, from a nuclear bomb down to a single pawn. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we do have that nuke on the board, and when you have a nuke as a chess piece, you kind of just wanna... Okay, well, that clears up that entire half of the board, so we will call it checkmate. With that, we do win game number 1. Let's go to move on to the queen. Alright, we do have that single queen on the board, and Martin is so prone to giving away free pieces that I can pretty much just centralize the queen and count on free material right on cue. Thank you, Martin, proving my exact point. We do get pawn forward, and this is basically a glorified game of Hungry Hungry Hippos. As long as I don't trade off the queen and leave myself with a single king, I will always have attacking opportunities. So let's go ahead and speed through all of this free material. Okay, this is getting a tiny bit tricky in the sense that if I do accidentally trade off the queens, it is a forced draw. So if I play something like queen check and we get a queen blocking that check, it checks me back, which hits my queen, and that is no good. So I think what I have to do is move the king off of this dark square diagonal, because even if I make like a waiting move, queen c3 is still a possibility, which forces that queen trade into a draw. So I'll move my king out of the way, and eventually, just by probability alone, Martin has to give up this queen. So I'm just gonna hang out for a minute. I won't even hang out for a minute. I'll hang out for 1 picosecond before that queen is gone. It's not stalemate, so I can just walk the king over, and eventually this is checkmate. We'll push him onto the back rank, and with that, we do defeat Martin with a single queen. Let's go to move on to 1 rook. Alright, we do have that rook on the board, and no shade to Martin, but this should be pretty similar to the game with the queen. We've lost the ability to move like a bishop, so it should be similar, just a little bit slower. We'll go ahead and centralize that rook. It does, in fact, develop a knight. We'll shuffle the rook over, and there's no shot that Martin's about to just push this pawn and play way more concretely than he ever has in his life. We'll hang out for just a second. I mean, that's really all I can do. Until a free, actual piece of material appears on the board, like the pawn on g5, I basically have to sit and wait. That is also free, so I will nab it. We'll come back and target g5 again. We do get put in check. That is defended by the knight, so I can't simply take. We'll move the king out of the way. But in very Martin fashion, the bishop does in fact go back. We'll hang out for a moment. These are all not the best moves, but pretty concrete for Martin. There we go. Welcome back, Martin. I don't know who was playing for you before, but I do accept that knight with open arms. Again, we're kind of just camping until we grab free material. It's a little bit of a boring way to play this, but statistically, the Martin bot has to make a certain number of errors to stay under a certain accuracy to actually play at a 250 elo level. So by just not actively blundering the rook, we should eventually win this game. So again, very similar to the queen, we'll speed through this, just a little bit slower. Alright, we do finally collect all of Martin's pieces, and all that's left is to deliver my favorite kind of checkmate. We'll walk the king down, and we do deliver ladder's mate. With that, we do defeat Martin with a single rook. Let's move on to 1 bishop. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting because I'm going to have to somehow force Martin to walk himself into checkmate, since obviously if I clear off all of his pieces like I've been doing so far, a single bishop against a single king is a forced draw. There's literally no way to set up checkmate with just these 3 pieces. So I'm actually going to start by advancing my king and using it as my active piece, and maybe eventually I can sort of walk it into checkmate. So we'll walk Martin forward, hang out with the bishop for just a second, and I think, again, I'm going to use my king to collect pieces. Let's go ahead and put Martin in check, and the king advances. The problem is the more space the king gets, the worse the situation gets for me. Again, we'll hang out for a second, we'll see how much free material I can grab, but really the only free material I'm interested in grabbing is whatever is nearest to the king. I don't really care about grabbing free material over here, because again, my goal isn't to wipe out all of his material. My goal is just to force him into a corner and hopefully eventually checkmate him. Now, somehow I'm almost zigzagged here. But okay, we find an entrance here on e5, which is promptly taken away. Let's target the knight. And Martin is frankly enough of a silly goober that I can probably gamble taking this knight here. So I'm going to go ahead and take it. Nice. b6 is in fact played. We'll move the bishop promptly out of the way. Now, I don't want to test my luck too much, especially when I'm still using bigger pieces like the bishop. He is kind of making waiting moves, so I'll do the same. I really need to get here on e5. As soon as I can do that, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. Ooh, okay. Should I take and Martin recapture? I'm toast. But should I take and Martin doesn't recapture? That actually puts me in a pretty darn good spot. So I'm going to risk it. I'm going to go ahead and take nice. Knight back to b7. We'll drop the bishop back. Gimme, gimme. And again, my goal really isn't to just eliminate all of his pieces. There need to be enough pieces left on the board that I can actually force him into a corner and somehow create checkmate. So we'll hang out for just a second. But if I wait for too long and one of these pawns promotes, it might be game over. The other issue is he's somehow worked his way towards the dark squared corner when really what I need is for him on a light square where he's trapped. So maybe somewhere over here would be ideal. I'm going to try and hold off these pawns. And if I can, I need to find a way to boot this king out this way. So I'm going to bring in the bishop as such and force the king out. And hopefully somehow I can make him walk out from that little corner where he is so well hidden. We'll drop the bishop. You've got to be kidding me. Boy, does he love hiding in that corner. We'll drop the bishop back. We're promptly checked. We'll drop another check. And again, he's worked his way into a dark squared corner, which helps nobody. Okay, maybe I just need to leave like a single pawn. Maybe I don't need to leave him just like all of his pieces. Yes, okay, very nice. Right, because if I just leave him a single pawn, again, it should be theoretically possible to checkmate him, so long as I somehow like walk his king into trouble, which is really going to be the hardest part of this entire thing. Right, we'll hang out for a second. The problem is if I don't dig him out of that corner, oh, very nice, then I'm not in a great spot. Of course, he's going to advance his pawns, but frankly, there's not really much that I can do about that. Nice. Oh, what I do want to do is be ready for when he comes over so I can boot him out. Okay, I do have to grab that. We'll move the bishop back, and we'll push him out onto these light squares. Check. Bring the king down. Nice, and we're just trying to walk the king into the center of the board as best we can, or maybe towards this light square. But then somehow he'd have to like promote and then put himself in checkmate, which is like exceedingly unlikely. We'll walk the king down. Again, he is in that light square now. Oh, he promotes to a knight. I think that's actually pretty good. I'm gonna leave that knight on the board. Okay, we'll hang out for another second. Maybe I walk the king towards these pieces. Because in a corner but with no pieces, there's no checkmate. But next to his pieces, on any light square, there might be a checkmate. So I'm going to try and push him over to his pieces. Nice. So far, so good. I'm actually going to let him promote because I kind of need him to have extra pieces on his hands. Play check. No, we definitely don't want you to leave. No. Come back, mister. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And now there's a bishop on the board as well. I'm going to spend some time here trying to finesse the king into a corner. Okay, so we have the king in the corner of the board that is in fact a light square. Now somehow, what do I need to do? Like wait for the bishop to get here somehow? I mean, I can't force it to happen. Even the knight's not enough because if I give check, well, I guess the knight would be enough if I could get the bishop down here. Okay, that's possible then. Okay, instead we are put in check. Let's move the bishop down this way. And I'm just keeping my eyes peeled for absolutely any opportunity to give checkmate. I just have to be ready to drop this bishop on b7 as soon as a piece lands on either a7 or b8. Pretty much all that I have to do. Oh no, by 50 move rule, we do in fact get a draw. We don't manage to defeat Martin with a bishop, but let's go ahead and try a knight. All right, based on how the bishop went, I'm not that much more optimistic about the knight, but I will go with the same general strategy of basically throwing my pieces in Martin's face and hoping that, whoa, stuff like that doesn't happen, and definitely not stuff like that happening. Somehow, eventually, I force the king into a corner where I can impose a checkmate and not just get stalemate. Let's sneakily attack the queen. No, he actually dodges my queen attack. No, this is not the kind of Martin we like to see. Let's try that again. Wonderful. I was going to go to f3 and then grab the queen, but that works all the same. We need to invade his position with our pieces. There's really not that much to calculate. You kind of either get into his position or you don't. There's not a whole bunch of in between to look at here. Nice, I'll take a free bishop, sure. He's doing a really suspiciously good job of stopping these ideas, but we are still grabbing material. That is not free. Let me hold my horses, literally. Let's go ahead and take. Still can't get into the position, but I'm going to hang out patiently for a minute. Maybe re-centralize the knight, grab a free pawn on the way. The king is again sort of running himself into a corner, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm really seeing any checkmating ideas yet, because I am not. Let's reroute the knight. I was going to say to b6, but we'll go back to c5. We can do a little back and forth. little back and forth hanging out for a second. That is free material. We are put in check, but we continue to munch away at his pieces. Now, I think there's enough material here that we can still somehow force mate. The question is how? Let's start by bringing the knight over, putting the king in check. And maybe we reroute the king in front of Martin's king. The question is, what does the final checkmate look like? I guess it could never be in this corner unless Martin like walks into it with the rook. So I guess we can try and play into that. We'll move. Oh, goodness. Oh my goodness, I moved it into danger and I didn't even notice, but somehow Martin didn't take. We'll grab this pawn, and then I'm thinking we just give check and walk the king over, move the knight back. I kind of need him to like put his own king in the corner, and then I can give checkmate. So we'll hang out here for a moment. Maybe we'll threaten the rook. It does move out of the way, but not precisely to where we want it to move. There we go, nice. We have it on the back rank. Now I need to reroute the knight so that it targets f7, and then I basically just need to buy time until he does exactly these two movements. What are the odds he does exactly that? Incredibly low, but it's pretty much our only chance here. So we're hanging out for a second. I really just don't see any other way of setting up checkmate. Okay, nice. We do get the king. Oh, is there any way that I stop him from moving something other than the rook? Not really. I mean, I can do this. Okay, I have to defend the knight. Stay defending the knight. Come on, just come back to the back rank. You know that you want to. No, don't do that. Oh, for crying out loud, do anything but that. Okay, we'll move the king back over. Oh, please. Oh, goodness. Oh, we might be getting trampled here in just a moment. We're still hanging out. That is check. This idea obviously doesn't work because the queen would just take. Not only that, but she would have to take. Maybe I should do a little bit of damage control. Grab some free pieces while I still have the chance. You know what? At this point, nice. I was gonna say at this point I might as well. Okay, let's stop that king from escaping, but I do need this knight on f7 eventually. So we'll go ahead and reroute it back to g5. Again, there's not that much to calculate. If Martin strings together a really good string of like 3 or 4 moves, it probably would be actually forced checkmate. So not a whole lot to look at here. Move the knight back, move the king forward again, and I'm basically just waiting for the opportunity to drop knight to f7. Okay, we'll take the queen, sure. And maybe that increases the chances that somehow this rook lands on g8. I mean, there are 50 moves before the 50 move rule kicks in, obviously, and there are only 64 squares. So there's a non-zero chance that this rook lands on g8 eventually by some combination of moves. Okay, well that was not something we wanted. And that's definitely not something we want. No! Come back! Don't do all that! Oh, for crying out loud. Oh my goodness, he's escaping. He's escaping, and if I take this rook, it's instantly a draw. So I have to leave it on the board. Oh, for crying out loud, please walk back. Okay, you know what? We can walk into that corner as well. That is not the end of the world, hopefully. Sure, just stay somewhere over there, please. We'll hit one of these. No, we'll do this. And reroute. I can't take that. Rook! You've got to be kidding me. I was going to say we're cutting off the king on c8. The only 2 legal moves are a7, a8. But okay, he does take. We do take back. And we do, in fact, get a draw with a single knight as well. For our final piece, let us try on a pawn. All right, for the final piece, I do have a pawn. I've moved it to h2 as opposed to d1 because that is simply unnatural, and as opposed to d2 or e2 because I feel like running down the middle of the board and giving check is a guaranteed way to make that pawn disappear like Houdini. So I've put him off to the side of the board, and obviously I have really no choice but to push him. I mean, I could hang out with the king and try and catch every single piece that comes my way. I really don't feel like giving that a try. We're just going to send this pawn on his merry way f6, the most Martin-y move I've ever seen for a move 2. Pawn to h6. Leave it alone. Do not touch it. Look at all these other beautiful pieces you could move. Leave my pawn alone. Thank you. e5 is what we were hoping for. We'll take on g7 again. He's fine. That bishop does not need to move. Move anything else. Don't touch my pawn. Holy cow. Okay, sure, we're getting a little testy, but we do in fact manage to promote to a queen, and this should be easy pickings from here. Nice, thank you very much. I do have a queen on the board now, and this is basically back to game number 2. Surprisingly, because of the fact that pawns do promote, this is going to be much easier than trying to win with a knight or a bishop. I would actually argue that trying to beat Martin with a knight or a bishop is a much more difficult challenge than trying to do it with just a pawn, because a pawn is basically just, can you get it to the other side of the board before Martin figures out what's going on? And it's Martin. He's never going to figure out what's going on. Okay, spoke a little too soon. Martin does always see mate in 1, so queen g4 is no longer possible. It is defended by the bishop. So Martin sometimes sees what's going on. But as far as playing with pieces goes, a pawn is just way more likely to turn into a queen, whereas a bishop and a knight have quite literally a 0% probability of doing that. I wonder if I can give a sneaky check and win the queen. Probably not. He'd probably just take it. Okay, what to do? Maybe I just hang tight for a second. I'm gonna hang tight for a second and wait for the free material to come my way. It is Martin, so it's basically inevitable. Thank you. Here it comes. That is a free bishop. Let's grab a pawn. We'll grab a knight. That was a free queen. No comment. We'll move the queen down. Try to grab this rook. Please do not checkmate me. Thank you. We'll move the king towards the center. Thank you for the free queen. Munch. Munch. Eat him up for lunch. We can push him to the side of the board, bring down the king to the edge, and we do in fact defeat Martin with a single pawn. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what other challenges I should try out with Martin. I do get really good ideas from you guys almost daily on Instagram, so if you want to follow me there, it will be in the description down below. Feel free to send me any ideas you guys have. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.